Good afternoon. I am AFP Cyber Command Assistant Commissioner Justine Goff. Today the AFP has expanded Operation Guardian to protect Medibank customers whose personal information has been unlawfully released online by ransomware criminals. Operation Guardian is a joint initiative with State and Territory Police set up in September this year to protect Optus customers whose identification credentials were unlawfully released online. I know today there will be Medibank private customers who will feel exposed, embarrassed and fearful because of the deeply personal information that has been stolen and dumped on the dark web. While the criminal investigation into this breach is continuing by the AFP, domestic partners and Five Eyes law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, my focus is protecting the victims of this breach. Overnight, when information was unlawfully released online, the AFP immediately took action, including undertaking covert techniques. Investigators within AFP's Cyber Command are working with public and private sector agencies to scour the internet and known criminal online sites to identify those who are buying or selling personal identification information. It is an offence to buy stolen information online, which could include the penalty of up to 10 years imprisonment. It is also an offence to blackmail and menace customers. The AFP has significant powers within its remit, including legislation that precludes the AFP from revealing when those powers are in use. Those powers are a chilling reminder to hackers and those who will attempt to piggyback off those criminals that the AFP will relentlessly pursue them. This is not just an attack on Australian business. Law enforcement agencies across the globe know this as a crime that is borderless and requires evidence and capabilities to be shared. To the customers impacted by this latest breach, please do not be embarrassed to contact police through Report Cyber. If a person contacts you online, by phone or by SMS threatening to release your data unless payment is made, please call 000 if you believe you are at imminent risk. I'm happy now to take questions.
Given some of the sensitive nature of some of this data that has been released, I guess how worried are you that people's lives could be at stake here?
Certainly there is some personal data that exists that has been published on the dark web. Of course we are worried, and that's why we have Operation Guardian in place, working with our state and territory police to identify those members of the community who are at risk to identity fraud, concerningly who are at risk, and as has been detailed, if members of the community feel that they are at imminent risk, they should contact 000 immediately.
Given the nature of the data here is not just personal identity, it's information about their health, is there more of a risk in your mind that people might feel compelled or forced to pay a ransom because it's not just a driver's license that can be replaced, an email that can be fixed, it's actually information about their personal health situation?
Certainly that is a concern to us, and that's why we urge anybody who is contacted by telephone, by SMS, by email, with the threat to release their personal information unless a sum of money is paid, to report immediately, to report cyber, and don't feel embarrassed about reporting that type of conduct. It is a crime, and the AFP will work with state and territory police to ensure that victims impacted by that cybercrime are protected from further harm.
Why did the AFP and the ASD take Medibank at its word that no data was taken, particularly given the ASD picked up the threat on October the 12th before it became public and advised Medibank that there was something there? And why did it take a week for the AFP and the ASD to embed themselves in the organisation and act like there was something taken, as opposed to waiting for Medibank to disclose, particularly when Medibank knew that passwords had been taken?
So these are really complex matters, and it does take a while to ascertain what data has actually been taken from the company, which is the situation with regard to this investigation. It was a process of verification, and upon the process of verification that was undertaken, there was certainly a calling and a joint agency approach between the AFP and ASD to work with Medibank Private. When the matter was referred to AFP, AFP instantly activated Operation Pallidus.
So the AFP activated that prior to the information becoming public, when the ASD advised Medibank that it was aware of there had been some kind of incursion?
So there's a process of a number of lines of inquiry that are being investigated with regard to the nature of the breach, who is responsible for it, and they're the matters that are under investigation as part of Operation Pallidus, probably not matters that I'm prepared to go into today.
Assistant Commissioner, when you can you put your eye line to Katie just in the middle of the cameras there? Thank you.
By effectively letting Medibank wait a week and not act like data had been taken from the outset and say that no data had been taken and it was fine, and waiting a week to embed with them, are you not really just giving the green light to companies to say, oh, we'll sit back and we'll wait and see whether anything has been taken or whether hackers contact us, rather than getting on the front foot and being proactive on it?
As soon as the matter was referred to the AFP activated Operation Pallidus instantly and started to work with both ASD and Medibank Private in relation to this investigation. It is a continuing investigation, and there are a number of inquiries that are being progressed, and I'm not going to go into those inquiries today.
How close are you to tracking down who's responsible?
These are really long and complex matters with complex data sets that require a process of analysis. I have mentioned the fact that we are working with our international law enforcement partners, our Five Eyes partners. There are a number of inquiries that are being progressed. They're very, very detailed and technical investigations. So we are progressing all of those factors, and that will take some time.
On the victims of this data breach, is the AFP looking at reaching out to them directly, individually? Have you got a list of the people that are impacted that might miss a news conference like this and want the information that you provided to them?
So the responsibility falls to Medibank Private as part of their privacy considerations. Obviously, if people are the victim of crimes, we do urge that they contact and make a report to report cyber, and at which case the AFP will work with states and territories in relation to those potential victims of cybercrime.
So now that some of these details have been published online, people who access that data, not connected to the hackers, just download it, are they committing crimes themselves?
They could be committing crimes themselves because there are some privacy considerations and privacy laws that could be being breached.
Even if they're not using it for anything, they're just downloading.
That's right.
Given this incident, the Optus incident earlier this year, there's a lot of concern in the community about the safety of their data held by these large corporations. What can Australians be doing to protect themselves, given they don't necessarily get to control how a company stores their information?
So there are a range of resources on the ACSC website, cyber.gov.au, which provides advice to businesses, small, medium and larger enterprises about cyber security settings and awareness. We urge Australians to be really mindful, to monitor their online accounts, to ascertain whether there's any suspicious activity, to report that suspicious activity immediately to their financial institutions. At this time, we urge Australians to be very, very conscious about people purporting to come from companies to assist them with the breach, to make contact with the companies, whether that be Medibank Private or Optus, on their legitimate contact numbers, and just to be really mindful of their cyber security settings and awareness.
So just picking up on that, is your concern there that given the contact information is available, you could have people posing as Medibank Private, reaching out to these individuals, pretending to help, but actually with malicious intent?
Sadly, that is the situation, that scammers, cyber criminals will take the opportunity to try and commit cyber crimes and impact members of the Australian community. So we really urge members of the community to be really vigilant at this time.
Do you have any indication who's behind this yet in terms of a criminal group or a state actor?
So, who is responsible for this breach forms the subject of the Operation Pallidus investigation, and that's an ongoing investigation which I'm not prepared to talk about at this moment.
Last question.
Given the complexity of this investigation as we outlined involving artists from overseas, how confident are you will ever find out who's responsible?
Well, we continue to progress as many lines of inquiry as is necessary. It is important that law enforcement focus its efforts on making Australia a less permissive environment for cybercrime, and we're dedicated to relentlessly pursue cyber criminals who impact or would impact upon Australia.
Thanks, guys.